In this video, we are going to write fractions in their simplest form. In order to do this, you basically have to decide what numbers will go into both the numerator and the denominator. There's several different ways to do this. As I look at this number, 32 and 80, I can think of several different numbers that that will go into both of these items. So, for example, I know that 8 will go into both. So what I do is I divide the same number into top and bottom. 8 goes into 32 4 times. 8 goes into 80 10 times. And then I'm left with something in a simpler form. However, if I look at this, I notice that there's also another number that will go into both of the numerator and the denominator that's left here. 2 will go into 4, and 2 will divide evenly into 10. So when I divide that in, 2 goes into 4 twice, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. When I look at this number, I can ask myself again, is there any other number that will go into 2 and 5? And the answer is no. So this is, in fact, in simplest form. Let's say, though, that you took a look at the same fraction and didn't notice that 8 would go into both. There's a couple simple tricks that you can use. One of them is noticing that if they're both even numbers, the 2 will always go into it. So I can start simply. You don't always have to pick the largest number, and in fact I didn't. I had to reduce again. But I can keep going, whittling this down bit by bit. So 2 goes into 32 16 times. 2 goes into 80 40 times. Or I can think of dividing both in half. 32 in half is 16, 80 in half is 40. But then I notice they are still both even numbers, so I can divide them both by 2 again. So 2 is in common to both because they're even numbers. So 2 goes into 16 8 times. There we go. Got my mouth to work here. And 2 goes into 40 20 times. They're still even numbers, and they still have a common factor. So I can divide them again both by 2. 2 goes in 4 times. 2 goes into 20 10 times. And I'm back to where I was here again. So I know that I need to divide by 2 one more time. And again, I'm still in the same simplest terms. So sometimes, especially when you're checking your answer at the back of the book, or when you're working with a partner, you'll notice that they might get a shorter route while you might take a longer route, or vice versa, but it's still the same idea. Okay, so let's look at the next problem. I'm looking here, and I can decide what number will go both into 9 and 27. I'm going to decide that 3 can go into 9 3 times, and 3 can go into 27 9 times. Now that's equivalent, and that's right, but it's not simplified enough, because if I noticed, 3 will go into both of these. So 3 will go in here 1 time. 3 will go into 9 3 times. And now I'm left with 1/3, which again is my simplest form. Be careful that when we eliminate the 3 is gone, sometimes I hear people say, make sure that you don't all of a sudden assume that there is no number up here. The 1 is still there. If you eliminate everything, there has to be a 1 to hold its place. And then again, it's over 3. So that's the final answer there. Now when I'm looking at this one, I'm trying to find what numbers will go into both 20 and 27. And I'm thinking about the numbers that will go into 20. I know 2 will go into 20. I know 4 will go into 20, 5 will go into 20, 10 will go into 20, and 20 will go into 20. These are all the kind of numbers I'm playing with. But if I think about it, none of those are a common factor to 27. In other words, all these numbers that will go into 20, not one of them will go into 27. All right, well, maybe I can think of something else. You can kind of see where I'm going, but let me see. 3 will go into 27, 9 will go into 27, and 27 itself. But again, none of these numbers will go into 20. So I've got no common factor between them. So really, this is in its simplest form as it can get. So when something is in its simplest form, you simply rewrite the number. Don't say no answer, can't be done, it's simplified. It's simply asking for the number in simplest form. So if there's no common factor, which there's not, then I have to simply restate the fraction.